Good morning, guys. Today we're beginning our getting ready for 7th grade. So, this is not in your textbooks, as I've said already. It is a whole unit. So, there are modules, and the modules are named Getting Ready 1, Getting Ready 2, Getting Ready 3, and so on. Okay? So, we're going to do the first one today. And this is going to be basically an intro into the first lesson the first topic that we're going to really be talking about in 7th grade, which is adding and subtracting, multiplying and dividing integers. So this first lesson is just modeling integer addition with the same sign. So what it means when we're talking about adding, subtracting, multiplying, and dividing integers, what this means is that we're going to be learning how to do operations with negative numbers and not just positive numbers. So you get to have a sneak peek into that now. So the plan right now is that we will get through, let me see if I can find my calendar. I forget how far we can go up to. We won't be able to finish everything, but we'll get pretty far into this getting ready for 7th grade section here. Here it is. I have us going up to, the 4th getting ready module. And I think there's 5, so we were pretty close. Okay, so to start off with modeling integer addition, to help you guys understand why and what is actually happening, we're using counters. Now, of course, we don't have real counters. If some of you have parents who are teachers, you never know, maybe they actually have their stuff at home. You could always ask and see if they have anything like that, 2 different color counters. However, you don't need to actually use them to understand. You can just look at the pictures and draw your own pictures. So basically what we're going to be doing is we're going to be using the lighter color counter as a positive 1 and the darker one to represent a negative 1. So just to refresh your memory, when we're talking about positive and negatives, of course, 0 is basically like our little placeholder, and all the numbers to the right of 0 are positive, and all the numbers to the left of 0 are negative. Okay? So we talked about in the beginning of 6th grade, we talked about absolute value. So we talked about negative numbers being the same distance away as their positive counterparts. Okay? So just keep that in mind as we're doing this. So if we were going to model addition with 2 integers that have the same sign, so either they're both positive or both negative, we're going to use these counters. So the light ones represent positive. So if I'm trying to represent 2 plus 6, I have 2 light counters and then 6 light counters. I add them all up, and there's 8 altogether. And the sum is positive, because all of the counters are positive. So in other words, 2 plus 6 is equal to 8. Now that was we know that already. Now let's see what happens when we have a negative situation here. So in this case, we've got negative 4 plus negative 2. So I take 4 of my negative counters, 1, 2, 3, 4, and then 2 of my negative counters, and I'm adding them together. And now I have a total of 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. There's 6 counters, and they're all negative. And so the answer is negative 6. Okay? And that's basically it for this whole lesson, trying to help you understand. But the whole point is, if both of your numbers are positive and you add them together, your answer is going to be positive. If both of your numbers are negative and you add them together, your answer will be negative. So, to reflect, how does the sum of 2 plus 6 change if both of the integers are negative? So what would be different about this if 2 and 6 were both negative? Well, what happened here when they were both negative? The answer was negative 2. So the answer here, if it was negative 2 plus negative 6, would be negative 8. So if both 2 and 6 were negative, the sum would also be negative. Okay, so we're going to do the your turn here, and then as I told you guys on during the live lesson last week, or that may be 2 weeks ago, I'm not sure. They're all very short lessons because they're supposed to be in, little sneak peek intro at lessons getting ready. So we'll be doing guided practice together, and the independent practice is going to be your homework, just to give you a heads up. So we're going to do the your turn. They want us to use these counters to find the sums. So what we're going to do is we're going to sketch the counters. I'm going to just leave the positive ones open and then shade in the negative ones. So -4, I'm going to draw 4, and they're going to be shaded to represent negative. And then I want to add -6, so I'm going to do another 6 shaded in. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. And now all together I have -10. I have 10 negative counters. So that's -10. Okay, 5 plus 4. I mean, we should be able to figure this out, but they want us to show using the counters 5 positives plus another 4 positive counters. And then that gives me altogether 9 positive counters. So +9 is my answer. Okay, and finally for number 4, 2 negatives plus 7 negatives gives me a total of 9 negative counters, -9. Okay, so I'm going to give you, I'm not supposed to do this in this lesson yet, but I'm going to give you the sneak peek into the 7th grade material. There are patterns to remember. Now this is so that you can actually understand and really comprehend why the pattern is the way it is. But what we say in 7th grade, and I'm going to teach you the integer song, and you guys are going to love it. We say same signs, add, and keep. And what that means is if you have 2 integers with the same signs, you add them together and you keep the sign. So without having to draw counters, when you see that 2 numbers have the same sign, you just add the 2 numbers together, 4 plus 6, and you keep the sign negative. 5 and 4 are both positive. I add 5 plus 4 and I keep the sign, which was positive. -2 and -7 are both negative, same signs, add and keep. So I add 2 plus 7, which is 9, and keep the negative. Okay? And that's the quick way. Using the counters is just to help you understand why. Okay? So now let's go to the guided practice, and they're giving us the counters. All right, and we'll walk through it. Actually, I'll have you guys do this because it's the end of the lesson. So you guys can do these 2 together. Keep in mind that the questions in the independent practice, which is what you're going to do for work today, you don't have to use the counters. So you can use what I just said, the same signs, add and keep. But for the guided practice, you can go ahead and pause and try these. I'd also love for you to answer the essential question, and then you can unpause to check. Okay guys, so using the counters, you can see that there's a total of 9 here, and they're all positive. So the answer to 5 plus 4 would just be 9. Then for number 2, there's a total of 10 counters, and they are representing negative numbers. So the answer is -10. If you did this using my shortcut, same signs, add and keep the sign. So they're both positive. I add 5 and 4 and keep the positive. Same thing here. Same signs, they're both negative. So I add 3 and 7, which is 10, and I keep the negative. Okay? And then for the essential question check-in, there's, of course, many, many ways you could have answered this. Just one example would be that we can use the counters. We can choose the counters to represent the 2 numbers we're adding, then count them all up and decide what sign they have. Okay? Any variation of that is fine. Okay, guys, so that's it for today's lesson. You're going to do this for your classwork/homework today. All right, I hope you had fun with your first day of 7th grade math.